if I actually did the problems in different ways, or if I did every single one of them the same way. So let's start with problem number 11. That's what we're ready for now. And I want to talk about the two different ways that we can do this problem. So I know yesterday we did them by setting them equal to x. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out what does this equal. And then we log ruled it. We said, start here, always start here. 3 to the x, 3 to the x equals 1/9. Right? And then we had to figure out, okay, 3 to what power would give me 1/9? Well, if you think about like the quiz you just took, if this is going to be flipped, if this is going to become a fraction, then doesn't that exponent have to be negative? Isn't that how you get fractions? And if it went from 3 to 9, that has to be squared. 3 to the second is 9. So because 1/9 is 1 over 3 squared, and 1 over means it got flipped, that exponent has to be -2. Now there's some thought that has to go behind that, but the answer is -2, because 3 to the -2nd, think about the quiz you just took. If you saw 3 to the -2nd, wouldn't you do 1/3 squared? Wouldn't you flip it and make it squared? And what's 1/3 times 1/3? 1/9. Okay, so that's one way to do the problem. I'm going to do the next one the other way. This will work all the time. Okay, this will work all the time. And when we get into 3, 4, and 3, 5, and we start solving logarithmic equations, this is the way you're going to want to do it. So this is perfect. However, sometimes it's faster to use a different method. Completely up to you. Okay, I'm just giving you another option. What did you learn yesterday about this? What does that mean? When there's no base down there, that means it's 10. So I'm going to put an understood 10 there. Now, is 100 a special number, especially when it comes to tens? What is 100? 10 squared. So if you want to rewrite your 100 as 10 squared, that tells me that the answer is 2, because there's a property of logarithms that says whenever these two numbers match, the answer is the leftover thing. Did I talk about that yesterday?
No.
No, okay, well I'm talking about it now. So this is another option you have. You can use this whenever you want. Sometimes it's really handy. If you can make this number and this number the same, then the answer will be whatever exponent you have. Now, what if we decided to log roll this? Would we get the same answer? Yes, because if we log rolled it, we'd say 10 to the x equals 100. Well, 10 to what power is 100? 2. So the answer is 2 no matter how you do it. You just have a couple of options. All right, with that in mind, what do you think about the next one? Well, just take a look at that for a second. Don't these two numbers match? So the answer should be the exponent. What's the exponent? 1. So the answer to this problem is just 1. Sometimes it's just easier to use that property. You never have to. Log base 7 of the square root of 7. Now, how do you want to do this? Makes no difference to me. Do you want to set it equal to x and log roll it? Or do you want to try to change these to match?
Log roll.
Log roll? All right. So 7 to the x equals root 7. What exponent creates a radical? Well, stop. What kind of exponent creates a radical? A fraction, right? A fractional exponent is a radical, and vice versa. Well, what kind of root is this? Square root. So I need a fractional exponent here, and the denominators too. Now, that's still a 7. So doesn't that numerator have to be a 1 because we didn't change it, we didn't raise it to any power? Is this power the same as the square root? Yep. So what's your answer? 1/2. The exponent's 1/2. 1/2. Perfect. Uh-oh. What do I do with ln? Who remembers what does ln stand for? Well, it stands for, it is a natural logarithm, that's exactly right. But notationally, what does it stand for? Log base e. Well, kids, what's the answer to the question? 10. 10. Remember, ln, this thing right here, can always be rewritten as log base e. That's what it stands for. So the answer to the problem, these match, so the answer to the problem is 10. Now remember, what does ln stand for? Log base e. Now these two don't match yet. I gotta get rid of this cube root. What's a cube root?
1/3.
A 1/3 exponent. Stop. Don't let her get ahead of you. You understand that? That a cube root is a 1/3 exponent. If I set x to the 1/3, isn't that the cube root of x? So what's the cube root of e? It's e to the 1/3. So what's the answer to the question? 1/3. I'm just gonna rewrite it when I write it down. So instead of writing ln, I'm on problem 17. Instead of writing ln, I'm gonna write log base e. Anybody have an idea about 1/e? Remember, well, here, let me log roll this one. E to the x equals 1/e. E to the x equals 1/e. How do you get 1 over? How do you flip something? You have a negative exponent, and since it just stayed e, it's not e squared or anything like that, that exponent is just going to be -1, isn't it? So the answer to the question is -1. When you have a radical, your answer is going to be a fraction because fractional exponents are radicals. When you have a 1/, it's going to be a negative exponent because that's how you flip something. We're skipping 18, 19 for a second, and we're moving on to number 20. We're gonna come back and get 18 and 19, but they look different, so we're just gonna skip them for a second. And we'll do number 20. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to just pretend for a minute that this is all you have. Then it looks like the problems we've been doing. Okay? Is there anything that's a 3. Is there anything special about 9? It's 3 squared. So could I think of this like this? Is this one possibility? Could I think of it like this? And if I think of it like that, then I immediately know what my answer is because those match, so the answer is 2. Now, not log 2, all that's gone. It's just 2. So this part of the problem just equals 2. Okay. So guess what I'm going to do with that 2? I'm going to times it by the 2 that's out in front, and the answer to the problem is going to be 4. So I went ahead and just did this part of the problem, and then took 2 times it. All right, let's do the same thing with 21. Don't let the 3 out in front bother you. Just cover it up. Pretend it's not there. Okay, now, how do you want to do this one? Can you rewrite it, or you want to log rule it? Log rule it. Okay, so I'm going to log rule it. So 2 to the x equals 8. Well, 2 to what power is 8? 3. So this part of the problem right here, this part is 3. Would everybody agree with that? Well, what am I going to do with that 3? I'm going to times it by the coefficient out in front. So the answer to the problem is going to be 9. 9. All right, 22 and 23 and 24 and 25. I'm holding off on. We'll get all those together. So now we're number 26. We're going to come back and do those in a second, but they're all different from these, but they're the same as each other. Okay? So can I cover this up? Can you tell me what the answer to that is? I hope. That's 1. Why is that 1? Because these 2 match, and the answer has to be the exponent. And there's an understood 1 there. So the answer to this part of the problem is 1. What am I doing with that 1? Timesing it by 4. So the answer is 4. Just gotta skip 27 for a minute and come to 28. We talked about this yesterday. Does anybody remember? It is 0. And here's why it's 0, kids. If you log roll this, 8 to what power gives you 1? Well, what power do you raise things to get 1? 0. Anything to the 0 power is going to be 1. So the answer to this question is 0. I know we talked about yesterday that if this had been a different number, if that had been a 7, would the answer still be 0? Yep, it doesn't matter what that number is, because when you raise it to the 0 power, you're going to get 1. So anytime there's a 1 in this spot, I don't necessarily want you to memorize this, you have enough to remember, but anytime there's a 1 in that spot, the answer is going to be 0. And that goes back to your BFFs. You're like, no, yes, it goes back to your BFFs. Your logarithm, BFF, went through the point 1, 0. If x is 1, y equals 0 every time on your logarithms. Okay, well now we gotta look at all these ones I skipped. You're gonna love them. If I said to you, I'm gonna give you $1 million if you can guess the answer to 18 correctly. You just have to just flat out guess an answer. Would anybody have a guess for number 18?
6.
No, but that's a good guess.
1.
No million for you.
2. 1.
It's actually 10. Because remember how when we had something like this, if these 2 numbers matched, the answer was that? Well, this this is the same idea. When these two numbers match, these two right here, these are the two that have to match. When these match, the answer is that number. It's actually a property of logarithms. So when you look at number 19, what do you think the answer is there? 2. Oh, now 22 is the same thing. Remember that ln is log base e, right? So what's the answer to 22? 4. ln is log base e. Now these two match, so the answer is 4. How about 23? 11. How about 24? 7. 25. Do not get tripped up. Remember, oops, it would be because log is log base 10. LOG has a base 10. And then what about 27? 6. Okay, so those are super simple. You don't need to ever get worried or nervous if you have 15 to the log base 15 of anything. The answer is going to be that anything, right? Anytime those two numbers match. Okay. All right, let's get our calculators out. So I want you to take a minute, and I want you to just type these in on your calculator. What does 10,000th mean? How are we going to round it off? How many decimal places is 10,000? 4. 1 is 10, 2 is 100, 3 is 1,000, 4 is 10,000. So remember, you have a log button right here, LOG, and you have an LN button right under it. Those are the only two buttons you need in this set of problems. So just start pressing and typing, writing down your answers, and we're going to compare notes. Remember, we need 4 decimal places.
Is there something wrong with my calculator, or should I not be
Keep
able to?
going, keep going. Remember, there's never anything wrong with the calculator. It's always operator error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta figure that out.
No, finish the parentheses. I think you have to still like it. I think because you have to click
Okay. Anybody get an answer to A you're willing to share?
Yes.
What?
9,350.
I got .9350.
Would you move, okay, when we were talking about, sorry, this is my mistake right here. When we were talking about it earlier, do we move the decimal point over at all?
No,
No. we
no,
just put-
whatever the calculator says is the answer.
You stopped.
When is the only time we move the decimal point? When we're dealing with a percentage, yeah. Yeah, no, whatever the calculator says, you press the button, boom, got it, right there. Okay? Anybody have an answer to two, or B, you're willing to share? 4849, yep, that's what I got. Perfect. Anybody have an answer to C you're willing to share?
No. Someone left you.
It won't let you. There is no answer to C. Your calculator does not lie. When it says error domain or something like that, again, it all goes back to your BFF. This is your logarithm, BFF. What can you tell me about the X values in this? Look at this graph. X is always actually bigger than 0. You can't take the logarithm of a negative number. You can't, ever. You cannot take the logarithm of a negative number. Look, the domain is positive. X is positive. There are no X's over here. You can't do it. So that's why there's no answer to that one. Which, oh, by the way, means there's no answer to F or G. You weren't doing it wrong. Your calculator isn't screwed up. You simply can't do that problem. All right. Anybody get one to D?
1.1895.
Perfect. That's what I got. How about E?
Negative 3.1355.
Let me see if that's what I got. Yep. And how about H? What did we get to H?
3.2960.
3.2960. Let me double check that. That's what I got too. Perfect. Everybody okay? Now, not right now, but in the near future, we are gonna need to be able to type that in because we're gonna be using logarithms to solve problems, like actual problems. And we're gonna need, to know how to type it in. So is everybody comfortable with that? Okay, all right. Now, you can set them aside for a second. We don't need them for this next set, but we are going to need them to solve problems, in the future. What we're gonna do now is solve some equations, some logarithmic equations. Anybody have an idea? What? I don't think so. It wouldn't be wrong. It wouldn't be wrong. I just think it's gonna make it harder to solve.
If we do like
Plug in the base 10, very good. So there's a base 10 right here. Does everybody recognize that? Okay. Now what?
When we do like the opposite, where we just were doing on the other page. So like
Not the opposite, we're gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
We're gonna log roll this. So what does it say when I log roll it? N to the third equals X. So what's X?
1,000.
1,000. So the answer to the problem is 1,000. Remember, you can log roll any logarithmic expression if you want. If you want to do that, you absolutely can. I think it makes these a lot easier. How about B? Log X equals -1. So what should I do first? Remember, this is a 10. Then it says 10 to the -1st equals X. What does 10 to the negative first mean? 1 over 10 to the first, which is just 1 over 10. See how all the pieces are starting to come together now. We're solving some logarithm equations. All right, you try this one on your own. See if you can make any progress with that one. They have an answer you're willing to share?
1 over 100.
She says 1 over 100. Let's see if she's right. I'm gonna put a base right here. And then log rule it. So 10 to the negative second equals x. And 10 to the negative second, this is 10 over 1. That means 1/10 squared. And 1 squared is 1, and 10 squared is 100. I think she's right. How many got that? Awesome. This side of the room, no one got it over here? Good.
I got
Good,
1,000.
good. You got 1,000? Yeah, time's strong. All right. Now, what about D? ln x equals 4. Do not be confused. What does ln stand for? Log base e. This is this. So we have log base e of x equals 4. So what does it look like when we log roll that? E to the 4th equals x. And we stop right there. There's nothing wrong with that. Do you remember when you were in geometry class and you had a circle and the radius was 3 and the teacher said, what is the area of that circle? And you said, well, it's pi r squared, so that would be 9 pi. And remember, you were encouraged to leave your answer like that? Same thing here. We are encouraged to leave our answer as e to the 4th. We could type it in and get a decimal, but it's not necessary and not preferred. Just leave it. So what's e gonna be? Problem e, I mean. Won't problem e be e to the 6th? Now let's look at f. F is an equation, and your job is to solve it. As you look at this, and just think about, okay, I gotta solve this. Does anything occur to you that might be a good first step?
Do the front part. Oh, sorry.
What? Could I divide both sides by 3? Is that legal? Yeah. Yeah. So what would I be left with if I did that? Log x equals 1. And what's the base on this? 10. So what does that problem say? 10 to the 1st equals x. So what's the answer to the question? 10. Now, I need you to be careful on, Mackenzie, you said do this part of the problem first. Since that's an equation, I can't do that, okay? That works, if I only have this I was working with, I can do that. But since it's already an intact equation, I need to do the whole equation at once. I can't do one side and then do something, okay? So it's sort of like, if I had 2x plus 3 equals 5, I can't just forget about that 2, right? Solve that in times, I can't do that, same idea. Okay, so now I think you are all ready to try the rest of these problems. G, H, I, and J. Let's give them a shot. Go ahead and help each other if you want. Talk it out. See if you can figure out what to do with G, H, I, and J.
I said it wrong. I said it wrong. I don't know. I don't think that worked out. I was going to do that.
Phoebe, you got it all done?
Is that 5? What is 5?
Shoot. Shoot. Lewis, which problem up here do you feel most confident in, Lewis? This is G, H, I, and J. You're not confident in any of them? Oh, this is not good. Which one did Sean? G? What did you do with G? Okay. So Deshaun did exactly the right thing. He said, I'm gonna divide both sides by -2. So then my equation looks like this. Would everybody agree with that? What does ln mean? Log base E. And so when I log roll it, what does x equal? E to the -2nd?
Can E have negative power?
No. Well, it can, but we don't like negative exponents. So how would we rewrite that, Kate, without a negative exponent? 1 over E squared, yes. So that would be the best way to write that.
So you can flip E.
Oh, yes, 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 you can flip E's. Yeah. So let's back up there. Izzy, did you understand all that? Divide by -2 first, and then change the ln into log base E. E to the -2nd equals x, and then E anything to the -2 means 1 over squared.
Yeah.
You got all that?
Yeah.
Okay, so which other one are you comfortable with, Izzy? Don't worry, I'm not gonna yell at him.
Okay.
You're good.
Yeah, I I got stuck on the rest.
The rest of them we're stuck on?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I got
What's-
just to a
What's
part.
our
Ten.
base? What's our base? 10.
Yep,
So if we log roll it, we have 10
to
to the 1/2 equals x. That should not be bothering us.
What
What
would be a
is 10?
radical?
Okay, okay, we're big kids now, we can handle it. What radical is this? What is that?
10 and then the 2 is on the.
It's a square root of 10.
10, yeah.
So you can either write the 2 or you don't have to write the 2 when it's a square root. But the answer to the question is the square root of 10.
that's it?
Oh.
Yeah,
I did not just know if that was like the answer, I knew that was.
Yeah, I didn't know that was possible to do. Because it was no square root of 10.
Now give us a
so,
chance
like,
to try
I
this.
didn't know.
okay, now wait, shh, guys. I think, I hope I know what you just meant, wait. There is a square root of 10. Square root of 10 exists. It is not a whole number. It's not like the square root of 9 is 3, but you can take the square root of 10, right? That number exists, it's 3 point whatever. Thank you. But we're not into round off, so we're just gonna leave it as the square root of 10.
So you can't do anything with it?
No, no.
Okay.
If that's your question, no. The answer is just the square root of 10.
Okay.
So, what is the answer to this one going to be? Cube root of 10. Because fractional exponents are radicals, right? And a 1/3 means a cube root. All right, ln is log base e,
So be e to the 1 over.
e to the 1/4. And what does the 1/4 power mean? It means a radical. What radical does it mean? 4th root. What's underneath the radical? 4th root of e. 4th root of e. It's what you've been doing. All right, grab your 3-3 homework and let's work a couple of these. Get started on this. 3-3 homework is going to be due on Tuesday. Let's go down to part 3 because these are probably the hardest. And it's exactly what I'm just erasing right now. So let's go down, we're on homework 3.3. And we're going down to number 3, where it says solve without a calculator. So tell me what you think we should do first.
I might need it.
I would plug in a 10. And then, as he's going like this, she's gonna log roll it, so she's gonna say 10 to the second equals x. Okay, what's that? What's the answer? 100. 10 to the second equals x. It's 100. Well, that wasn't very hard. All right, what about the next one? What are you gonna do with this one?
Divide
Divide both sides by 2.
the 2, then you're gonna add.
So log x equals -1.
Yep, then you're on your base 10.
Now put my base 10 in there.
Then you're gonna log over
10
to the
negative first
equals x.
equals x.
So be
And what does 10 to the negative first mean?
One.
Flip it over, 1 over 10. Good. Good. Easy. All right, ln x equals 4.
So be e to the 4.
What?
E to the 4.
I'm gonna rewrite this as log base e. And then Kate said it's gonna be e to the 4th equals x, is she right? And I'm done with that one, e to the 4th. Anybody have a question, problem, issue? All right, last one, looks a little harder. 1/2 log x equals 2. What should I do first with that guy?
Divide over.
Multiply by
I can divide by 1/2, but I would rather multiply by 2. Won't that take care of it? It's just easier for me to think about it that way. You'll get the same answer if you divide. So what does it say then? Log x equals 4.
Could be 2.
So I'll put a little 10 down here. 10 to the 4th equals x. What's 10 to the 4th?
10,000.
10,000, that's exactly right. How many zeros? 4. There you go. All right, that's enough for now. You finish the rest of that. It's due on Tuesday. If you haven't already turned your paper in, shame on you. It's only been 6 weeks. It's Tuesday.